And we'll be looking at Kenya, where the deputy president is back in the Hague after a week ago having been excused from proceedings there, being able to rush back home to deal with the aftermath of the Westgate Mall massacre. Also there, that's been almost 7 days since the end of the raid by extremists from Somalian group al-Shebab, and bodies are still being pulled from the Nairobi shopping mall. And also we'll be meeting a Rwandan author who has left her home in France to return to her homeland to share her story, both on the written page and in life, with students at her old school. But first up, Kenya's deputy president is back in the Netherlands and back in court. William Ruto was excused attendance from his crimes against humanity trial last week in order to return home following an extremist attack on a Nairobi mall. Proceedings at the International Criminal Court started up again on Wednesday. They faced a recurring problem for cases concerning the 2007 post-election violence in Kenya. Not enough witnesses. Josh Vardy has more.
Back in courts, but with a lack of witnesses. Kenyan Deputy Prime Minister William Ruto's trial at the International Criminal Court started last month. He's accused, along with President Uhuru Kenyatta, of inciting post-election violence in Kenya following the contested 2007 elections. However, the trial faces an uphill struggle, as demonstrated by the arrest warrant issued on Wednesday for Walter Barasa, a Kenyan journalist accused of bribing witnesses.
As I have repeatedly indicated, witness tampering has been prevalent in the Kenya cases. My office has undertaken extensive investigations, and the result has been the issuance of an arrest warrant against Mr. Barasa. Our investigations indicate that there is a wide network of people involved in this scheme.
Kenya has said it will cooperate with the ICC, and this arrest warrant looks to stand as a test to that commitment. Several witnesses for the trial have already withdrawn, which prosecutors say is due to intimidation. The trial of Kenyatta's co-accused, former civil service head Francis Muthaura, collapsed after a key witness decided not to testify. Kenya has also called for the trials of Ruto and Kenyatta to be dropped or moved closer to home, while openly rallying support against the ICC among Africans.
Now, Ruto rushed home because of the Westgate Mall massacre. From word today, more bodies were retrieved. Now, it's been a week since a siege by Islamist gunmen there from Somalian extremist group al-Shebab brought to a close. It's not clear whether the latest bodies are included in the official death toll of 67. Well, on Wednesday, al-Shebab again threatened Kenya, vowing rivers of blood because of Nairobi's refusal to pull its troops out of Somalia. Since the attack, there have been calls for the closure of the Dadaab refugee camp in Kenya, where more than 500,000 Somalis live. Some claim it's a training ground for terrorism. The idea of closing it has sparked fierce debate.
The Somalia guys, or the Somalia people, they have their own country. Why should we have this refugee camp in Kenya, and yet at the moment they have a government?
What our government should do is manage the entire border, because the refugees did not come there on their own volition. There are problems where they come from.
We are good for Somalis, and they have done what they have done to us, so we have to close.
South Africa's President Jacob Zuma wrapped up a short visit to Senegal on Wednesday. During his meeting with his counterpart, Macky Sall, he expressed gratitude for Senegal's vocal opposition to apartheid during the years the system was in place. Several trade treaties across a number of economic sectors were signed between the two nations over the 2 days. Now, the head of Egypt's Constitutional Committee met with the EU's top diplomat in Cairo on Wednesday. Former Foreign Minister Amer Moussa held a meeting with Catherine Ashton before she went on to hold talks with Sheikh Ahmed Al-Tayeb, the head of the country's top Sunni Islam institution. Now, Egypt's been gripped by political turmoil ever since the army ousted President Mohamed Morsi back in July. On a previous visit, Ashton failed to make much progress in pushing for compromise between the new government and Morsi's Islamist Muslim Brotherhood. Now, UK officials have called for political dialogue in Sudan following deadly fuel protests around Khartoum. Though the intensity of demonstrations against a government cut in subsidies has died down a bit this week, there were still small rallies and some arrests being made today. Well, that's well over a week after the protests first began. Nicholas Schirmer from our Africa desk joins us for more on this. Now, Nicholas, these protests were sparked by a spike in fuel prices, but there are also a lot of other issues behind this as well.
Absolutely. It began as demonstrations against austerity measures, but very quickly became political. What you heard, the slogans you heard in the demonstrations were down with the regime, down with Omar al-Bashir. It all began when the government decided to cut the fuel subsidies. What happened is that the pump prices rose by more than 60%. Why did the government do this? Because it needed money, especially since South Sudan became independent 2 years ago and took 75% of the oil revenue with it. That meant a loss of billions of dollars for the government. So this measure sparked the protests, several thousand people in the streets several days in a row. And now what the government is saying is that in all 34 people have been killed. What NGOs and diplomats are saying is that the real figure is probably closer to 200. It's important to note that these demonstrations are not only in Khartoum, the capital, but also in Port Sudan and abroad, in Cairo, in London. And today there was a demonstration in Paris, and I went to that demonstration with Charlotte Prudhomme, and we asked the demonstrators why they were so angry with Omar al-Bashir.
Protested peacefully against the hunger and the situation in Sudan, and they killed them. You can't imagine people kill them for while they are hunger, for this hunger. And that's why I'm here. I'm very upset about the killing of the people. I'm very upset because they are all young and the future in front of them. How can you kill them?
They're killing people, man, for nothing. People hungry and people have no money and have no food and have nothing. And they're killing them for nothing, my brother. This president have to leave. That's all. He have to leave.
So Bashir's critics clearly think very strongly about this, but does it pose any actual threat to his government?
Well, he's clearly worried. 700 people arrested. The security forces opening fire on the crowds, calling the demonstrators criminals, closing the internet for a whole day, closing several newspapers, banning 2 foreign TV stations. It's clearly the worst urban unrest since he came to power in 1989 in a coup that was backed by the Islamists. And the big question now is, will he stay in power until the presidential in 2015? Will he keep the support of the army, or will he be chased away from power like his 2 northern neighbours, Gaddafi in Libya and Mubarak in Egypt?
Thanks very much, Nicholas Schirmer, there for us. Now, an award-winning Rwandan author is headed out from France to return to her old school, but this time for a place at the front of the classroom. Scholastique Mukasonga, last year's winner of the French Literary Award, the Renaudot, hopes her story, both the one she's written and the one she's lived, can inspire young potential writers.
A group of students hanging on every word that comes out of their teacher's mouth in a classroom in Bugesera. But this is no ordinary teacher. Rwandan novelist Scholastique Mukasonga is the winner of the coveted Renaudot Literary Award for her latest work, Our Lady of the Nile.
The Renaudot Award is not for me, it's for the story that I wrote. And the story is not mine. It's the story of Rwandans. That's why I was looking forward to this moment, so I could share it face to face with my compatriots.
In her book, Mukasonga, herself a Tutsi living in France for the past 20 years, tells the story of the rise of hatred towards the East African ethnic group, which led to the 1994 genocide in Rwanda, a novel inspired by her own life, which she wants to share with her young readers.
Unfortunately, there are middle schools which were not able to obtain this book because it is too expensive. It's so unfortunate. They really want to have it, but they can't.
On her tour of schools throughout Rwanda, students and teachers alike were transported into the world of Mukasonga.
Her experience is encouraging for us. It helps the young people here to see that they can be where she is at today.
Mukasonga, who lost much of her family in the massacres, hopes through her work to maybe inspire the next generation of award-winning writers.
That wraps up African news from me for now, but I will be back with more in an hour, Laura.
OK, Georgia, thanks very much indeed. We'll look forward to that. Do stay with us here on France 24. Much more to come. Mark Owen with you next with all the very latest international headlines. Don't go away.